is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance.
Stephen A. Smith was blown away by Crawford's triumph and openly voiced his admiration. He explained that being there in person made the experience even more meaningful, as he got to witness history unfold firsthand. Smith emphasized that no fighter in boxing's past has accomplished what Terence Crawford just pulled off, stepping up in weight and decisively beating a reigning superstar like Canelo. He described it as a milestone that cements Crawford's legacy and separates him from his peers. In Smith's eyes, this wasn't merely another bout. It was a defining moment that reshaped the very standards of greatness in the sport.
But either way, he was in discussion certainly with Chavez. What does this do to his legacy? Because I don't think he caught, the Floyd fight didn't give him, people didn't really look down on because he was, even though he had 40 fights, he was still, fighting one of the greatest ever in an absolute master. In Bivol, he went up weight classes to win. But now he's fighting a smaller guy, a great fighter, but a smaller guy. Does this damage his legacy in any way?
I think it does. I think it does because, the one thing is this, is that, you were ruling, you were the king of that weight class. And the king of that weight class for a good while. And I think that, he had a huge following because, he became the face of boxing.
And even though it's another, future Hall of Famer, still losing a guy come up a couple weight classes, kind of makes you seem not as great as you might have been.
After the fight, Crawford's trainer firmly stated that his fighter has nothing left to prove. In his eyes, Terence has reached a level where his respect should no longer be questioned, though some critics still hesitate to give him the full credit he deserves. That frustration reflects how, even after dismantling one of the sport's biggest stars, Crawford continues to face battles outside the ring. His trainer made it clear that Terence isn't focused on chasing another matchup right now. What he accomplished against Canelo is more than enough to solidify his greatness. For Crawford, this wasn't about adding names to his resume. It was about building a legacy that speaks for itself.
This was Terence Bud Crawford moving up 2 weight divisions, really 3 in my mind, because we only fought 1 fight at the junior middleweight division. So he's really moving up from 147 pounds, okay? Terence Bud Crawford moving up to the 168-pound limit in an effort to claim the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world from the grasp of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, I was there because let me tell you something right now. There's very, very few sporting events in the world that are better than a super fight in Vegas. I can tell you that right now. There's very, very few events. Props to Nick Khan of the WWE.
Timothy Bradley offered one of the most daring takes, drawing a direct comparison between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. He claimed that Crawford now deserves to be mentioned at the very top when discussing the greatest fighters of all time. For Bradley, this wasn't just about Crawford defeating Canelo. It was about reshaping what it truly means to be pound for pound #1. He acknowledged Mayweather's mastery during his era, but argued that Crawford has shown he can reach even greater heights by stepping up and conquering Canelo at his peak. In Bradley's view, this victory didn't just add to Crawford's resume. It elevated him into the exclusive company of boxing's all-time legends.
Terence Crawford and his well-renowned trainer, 2-time trainer of the year and future Hall of Fame trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, recently did an interview in which Bomac stated that a fight is not happening. And this particular fight is a fight that everybody wanted to see Canelo Alvarez take, and Canelo Alvarez refused to take this fight with a 28-year-old 2-division world champion, reigning WBC light heavyweight, former 2-time WBC super middleweight, the Mexican Ecuadorian superstar boxer, who's one of my favorite fighters and a great person, David, the Mexican Ecuadorian monster Benavidez, who is 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. Stands at 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach and fights at 175. But the entire time David Benavidez was fighting at 168, Canelo Alvarez was brought up and he never accepted the fight. And so with that said, now people are trying to project this fight on Terence Crawford. And they're saying that Terence Crawford needs to take the fight. So Bo Mack yesterday did an interview and Bo Mack said they're not fighting David Benavidez. And so now people are pushing this notion that Terence Crawford is ducking and Terence Crawford is scared of David Benavidez. And if he don't fight David Benavidez, according to Boxing News 24,
Roy Jones Jr. pointed out a major difference between the two eras of Canelo's career. He noted that when Floyd Mayweather fought him, Canelo was still young and inexperienced, which allowed Floyd to use his superior skill and ring IQ to dominate. But in Crawford's case, the challenge was far greater. Crawford went up against a fully developed, battle-tested version of Canelo, the same fighter who had ruled his division for years. Even though Crawford was the naturally smaller man, he still managed to break Canelo down. For Roy, that makes Crawford's accomplishment remarkable, because he conquered a version of Canelo who was not only stronger but also wiser and more complete than the one Mayweather faced.
It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody put his resume down.
Duke McKenzie was left amazed by what unfolded in the ring. He felt Canelo simply had no solutions for Crawford's non-stop pressure, sharp timing, and precision punching. McKenzie called the showing nothing short of incredible, one of the most complete performances modern boxing has ever seen. He emphasized that Crawford didn't just unify the division, he also proved himself to be virtually untouchable, even against elite competition. Speaking with both admiration and respect, McKenzie concluded that Crawford has now set a benchmark so high that only a handful of fighters, if any, could ever hope to match it.
Great in Canelo Alvarez, really 3 weights above his natural weight class. Does that put him in the conversation with the likes of yourself as the greatest fighter of all time?
Yes, it does, and the reason it does is because he couldn't get the credibility down in his own weight class, so he went up to go challenge himself to find it, and he found a very formidable, good opponent.
Do you think Canelo Alvarez is on the decline or not?
No, I don't think he's on decline at all.
So you think both fighters are still at their peak, even though they're 36, 37?
Yeah, I think they're both still at their peak. The age for Crawford would seem like he may be beyond it, but he hasn't had the fights, the tough fights we have put him there. And the years of boxing for Canelo would have put him in a position where they're about equal. So I think they both are pretty much in a great place. I think they're both still in their primes, and this is the best time to see them fight.
Trainer Robert Garcia delivered one of the strongest praises for Crawford's legacy, suggesting that in this scenario, he may have surpassed Floyd Mayweather. Garcia noted that Crawford didn't just beat Canelo, he won nearly every round, showcasing an intensity and drive that few fighters ever display. He highlighted that Mayweather, for all his brilliance, never chose to take on such a dangerous challenge by moving up and dismantling a bigger, established champion in this fashion. That's what, in Garcia's eyes, makes Crawford's accomplishment so historic. To him, this wasn't about statistics or title counts. It was about taking bold risks and succeeding. The very thing that defines true legends in boxing.
That feeling, do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable. He's a 3-time undisputed world champion, and he's beaten the best of the best. Now, for me, there were red flags way before this fight. Not way before the fight. You know, in the build-up to this fight. Canelo's body language in the run-up to this fight you know, he turned up in Vegas in his stretch limo, in his Armani suit. He's had his kids and his wife in the back of the car, and he's got out and he's strolling around like he owns the gaff. Now, that all that signified to me was a very comfortable man. He was too comfortable. And Terence Crawford just kept it real from the outset. Tracksuit, no nonsense, went there to win, said what he was going to do, told the world what he was going to do long before the fight. I think he asked for this fight many years ago. The discussion he had with Bill Haney, and I think it was him that actually suggested call out Canelo, which he laughed at the beginning, but then it came to fruition, and now it's come to fruition. I mean, what you saw in that fight yesterday, what I watched in that fight yesterday, it was for the purists. It really was, because you really have to try and understand boxing and know what you're looking at. It was the feints. It was the way that he handled the bigger man. It was the little feints, the little side steps, the little flicking with the jabs, hitting him with the head and the body, the little combinations, the little 2s and 3s, and also with Crawford knowing how to close a round, knowing how to win rounds.
Brian Norman Sr. was crystal clear in his reaction, insisting that Terence Crawford's dismantling of Canelo Alvarez was far more punishing than anything Floyd Mayweather ever produced. His remarks struck a chord with both fans and analysts because they perfectly captured the reality of what unfolded in the ring. Canelo, long celebrated as the dominant force of his division, wasn't just defeated. He was systematically taken apart by a man who had jumped up 2 weight classes to meet him. Crawford's showing was nothing short of a boxing masterclass, one that reshaped the very definition of greatness in the modern era. For years, Canelo reigned supreme at super middleweight, carrying himself as the face of the sport, battling top-tier opponents, and building a reputation as one of boxing's most bankable champions. His strength, skill, and relentless style made him appear nearly untouchable. But on this night, Crawford stripped away that aura completely. What shocked the world wasn't only the outcome, it was the way it happened. Canelo wasn't narrowly outpointed or simply worn down. He was thoroughly outclassed, left searching for solutions that never materialized.
Canelo has already accomplished too much, has already done too much, and he wasn't, I don't see that hunger in him anymore. I don't see those changes anymore. He fights flat-footed, throws one punch at a time. He's not fast anymore, and that's why I picked Crawford by decision.
Are you surprised at how easy it was?
Look, not that I'm surprised, because what I just told you, I think Crawford is very talented, and Crawford is hungry to become a legend. He wanted to become that three-division undisputed. He wanted to he wanted to make history by going up 2 divisions to beat Canelo, one of the greatest of all time. So he was hungry for it. I think Canelo has already done so much, has made so much money, that he's not hungry anymore.
Do you think possibly that Crawford is up there with Pacquiao or Mayweather?
I think in accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
Do you think Crawford should retire after this or fight someone else?
Look, I think a rematch would be fucking good for Crawford to just beat him again and do the same thing. If Canelo doesn't have any changes, he needs to do a lot of changes. Canelo needs to do a lot of changes. I think a rematch would do triple the money that he did in this fight and then retire. But I would be so happy to hear he retired.
Andre Ward, a legend in his own right, put Crawford's victory into historical perspective. He called it a generational fight, one that fans will revisit for years to come as a defining moment in boxing. Ward explained that nights like this are what shape legacies. The difference between being remembered as great and being remembered as iconic. What stood out most to him was Crawford's discipline. He stayed sharp, composed and strategic from start to finish, never letting emotions dictate his approach. To Ward, this was a career-defining moment that elevated Crawford into the all-time conversation. By dismantling Canelo in such dominant fashion, Crawford placed himself on a level reserved only for the rarest names in boxing history.
I bet against Bud on Porter. I didn't think that Bud was the best. I got to give it to him. Bud the best, right? He hands down. He the best. He the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of got to give him his respect no matter what. You got to give him his respect. He just went up 2 weight classes what people said he couldn't do. He's doing everything that people say he can't do, and he is doing it with ease. Right? You got to respect that.
Break it down for me. How did he win that fight in the way he won it tonight?
He won the fight by gaining Canelo's respect. I think he was already in Canelo's head a little bit. I think that even though Canelo knew he was smaller and everything else, these fighters are still humans and they hear what the people are saying. Canelo was Crawford was undefeated. Look at what he did to the Spence. I mean, look at what he's doing to some of these people. So no matter what, I mean, you have to take that into consideration. You know what I'm saying? Even no matter what he did against Makrimov or whatever else, you got to take into consideration what Bud has been known to do when it's time to do it. You know what I'm saying? So again, I think Canelo respected him, and I think that was the biggest part.
Canelo just said in the press conference that Crawford's better than Mayweather, having shared the ring with both. What do you think?
I mean, I think that's one of the things. I think that's one of the things it's opinionated situation because styles make fights. He beat him up. He beat Canelo up worse than Mayweather beat him up. He definitely did that. So in that case, you can ask the question: did he beat him up worse than Floyd did? Absolutely. But I mean, that would be an opinionated thing because styles make fights. You just never know. You know what I'm saying?
Different eras.
Yeah, different eras. Different. It's a lot of things. You can't really say that.
That wraps it up for today's breakdown. Stick around for more updates, and I'll catch you in the next.
Canelo Alvarez tonight. What was your thoughts on that performance from Terence?
From Terence Crawford, great performance, man. He's been doing this throughout the course of his career. The stakes were a lot different in this fight, a lot more danger. He had to fight that kind of fight in order to beat Canelo Alvarez tonight, and he did that at 37, but getting ready to be 38 years old. And he proved, like Max said, that he is the GOAT of this generation. Hats off to Canelo for taking the fight. He didn't have to take it. Hats off to Turkey Al-Sheikh for putting it together. Just a great night for boxing.
Yeah. How special a fighter is someone like Terence Crawford? There was no signs of a size disadvantage there. How special?
You can see it in spots, but it wasn't significant. And I didn't think it was going to be significant. And people call me crazy, but I've been around Terence. He's strong. He's got a wrestling background, and people don't realize that he's been boiling himself down all these years and still being successful, not having to do that. His condition seemed impeccable, and his strength was there, the power was there enough to get respect from Canelo. So what more can I say?
What would you like to see him do next? Do you think there's another fight after this?
I'd like to see him be done. What are we boxing for at this point? What else is there to do? There's always going to be a YouTuber or a reporter or somebody conjuring up another challenge. We box to get ourselves in a better financial position, to build a name and a legacy. Those boxes are checked. What else are we doing?
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.